looking at the E-mini futures 2000 tick chart, and we're using price action rules and market geometry to determine where to enter for high probability setups. So as you can see, we spent the most of this morning in a trading range working sideways, but we broke out of the bottom. We know that 90% of the time breakouts of trading ranges fail. So we're going to draw a channel. After failed breakout, you can see we pulled back into the range, and then we broke out of the top, had a breakout, pull back, and then continued working higher. Now you can see we had this channel working up. After we broke that channel, we created new high, which is the highest high inside the channel while it's working higher. After you break out of that channel, you know that prices want to make a higher high than the highest high in the channel while it was still active. And after it did that, you can see we continued to work higher, and we're still far away from EMA, and we're just still pushing up. So you have to ask yourself, why after new high we continue to push up? So I'm going to look for some kind of spike in channel, something like this, because we have to account for every price movement on this chart. You know, I have it pretty simple this morning. You could see how confusing it could be if I started drawing all sorts of channels all over. When the market's like this and it's kind of just chopping sideways and it looks like it could have an uptrend over here or maybe a downtrend over here, I just try to keep it simple. Just try to understand the overall bias of the market. If you don't understand the overall bias of the market, then you shouldn't be looking for key entry points or those kinds of things. You know, you want to have a overall understanding, then look for your key entry points, then start to look for setups confirming that bias, and then look for the signal bar to confirm that setup. So really just kind of a lot of area of development this morning so far. The most important thing is we're actually kind of getting some movement up here now. So if we break out of this channel, you can see we confirmed it multiple times here. It looks like it's about to break out. You can start to see how it like slows down. It starts to chop kind of into the bottom of the trend line here. So if we break this, I'm confident enough that this spike in channel needs a new high, higher than this high. So it'll, I'll look for something on EMA confirming a second entry long or whatever it may be to confirm that we're going to push to this new extreme. Okay, we created new high for this uptrend. Now, after new extreme, new low, or new high of a broken channel, we can expect correction or reversal. And then if we see the market continue to the same direction it was when the trend was still in play, then you have some kind of wider channel on your hands. But since we pushed back below EMA after creating new extreme, I know that all bull pressure has played out. So we can either correct sideways, and that's why I have this smaller trading range drawn here, or we could even reverse, pull back into this trading range. But as you can see, we've been out of this trading range for far too long to pull back into it. So I'm thinking a new market structure is going to be established here. I'm kind of just sitting on my hands. I'm not even looking for a trade right now. Like, you can make a case to go long or short, so kind of just waiting, see what the market wants to do, and then start to look for setups confirming whatever the market's doing. All right, guys, so this small short-term trend right here needs new low. Now, we did get like a lower high below EMA, but you can see how strong this spike above EMA was. Probably draw it something like this. You can see how strong that spike is, and when you see a strong spike straight through EMA like it's not even there, you kind of need a failed second entry long, a little bit more risky to take just a lower high to test new low. Maybe if we can pull back to EMA to get second entry short, because we still need this new low for this downtrend here. This trade ended up working, but I mean, hindsight's always 20/20, and when the trade was forming, you can see how strong this spike was. We don't know if that one's going to test new high before it breaks back below EMA to test new low, so it's better to just wait, sit on your hands here, and wait for a setup confirming this lower high. Alright guys, so we created new low. Unfortunately, didn't get any failed second entry long at the EMA. We did get one here, but you can see how far away this body is from this EMA. You need it to form right at the EMA. You want to see a strong rejection off of it, but it just didn't form. maybe you can take this lower high. It's just a little bit risky just because that spike is so strong. You know, you don't want to get trapped, especially when there's this strong bull bar right here as well. You know, like it looked like it rejected strongly off the EMA and then it just formed this bear bar, lower high. It's not really confirming anything, you know, bearish. It just looks so bullish in this area. But if you get a failed second entry long here, you definitely want to take that because you know that this downtrend needs new low like it did here. But I'm going to go ahead and take my break. Unfortunately, got nothing so far. There was this earlier in the morning, but I wasn't here for that. So hopefully we can get something later this afternoon and just cross your fingers. Let's see what happens. All right, back from my break. It looks like we had a downtrend working lower. You can see after we created new low for this spike down, we continue to work lower. We rejected off of EMA a little bit right here, kind of pushed through and then spiked back down. You can see that this top trend line right here has multiple confirmations off of it. We had overshoot, and that's probably what caused us to push above EMA like this. We broke out of the other side of the channel, and now we know that it needs new low. So I'm hoping that we can get some kind of failed second entry long to test new low of this downtrend. So let's see what the market wants to do here. All right, guys, we created new low for this downtrend. We did have a failed second entry long, but you can see it's like 8 miles away from EMA, so you can't enter on that. You want it to form right here at the EMA. You want to see rejection off that key entry point before you can consider entering. But now that we created new low, we can expect correction or reversal. So back to waiting, seeing what the market wants to do to form this new structure. All right, we're pushing back up, so I'm thinking we have some kind of wider uptrend now. After new low was created, like I always say, we expect correction or reversal, and it looks like we have a reversal. You can see multiple confirmations off of the bottom of this trend line. So at this point, I'm really looking for some longs. Now that we have a potential multiple test here, you can see if we reverse back down right here, you got to be careful of levels like this because you don't want to go long directly into them. But if we get some kind of second entry long like down here in this area, maybe off of the EMA or off of this bottom trend line, that's a key entry point. We know the bias, we have the key entry point, we're looking for the setup, and then once the setup forms, we use the signal bar to determine whether or not we're going to enter that trade. So hopefully we get something here. It's getting kind of late. It's almost 1 o'clock, and I quit trading around 1:30, so hopefully we get something now. All right, guys, I'm going to go ahead and call it here. Looked like we created a new high for this uptrend. No real trades to take it on the way up. You can see this second entry long formed right here. Pretty decent. You can see a pretty strong rejection. We did go below EMA, but we reversed back up quickly. But we already had new high for this uptrend. So if the context or bias doesn't align with the setup you're looking for, then you got to sit on your hands and not take those kinds of trades. You want the setup to confirm the bias that you're looking at, right? Like if this uptrend needed new high, we'd want to see a second entry long like around this area to test new high, not after new high was created. So it's about 2 o'clock. I'm going to go ahead and call it here for the day. It's best not to argue with the market on a Monday morning. You know, you got to just kind of get your feel for the trading for the new week. You don't want to end up taking a bunch of stupid setups and end up losing a bunch of money that you have to try to make back throughout the week. So I didn't take anything today. There's a few good opportunities like this one here in the morning. I'll go ahead and mark this one green. You can see a nice failed second entry short off the bottom of this trend line. It's a little bit risky because you are in the middle of this little trading range right here. But I think you can risk that. It's a nice signal bar. You can see strong rejection off of the EMA. The bears tried to push it down here and failed to do so. And then once you get a trigger above, you can place your limit order. But other than that, nothing too crazy. There is this lower high here. I'm a bit more conservative in my trading, but if you aren't, you can risk something like this. It's just this strong spike above EMA, lower high. This downtrend needs new low. If you would have known that this wider downtrend was here at the time, I mean that's a perfect setup. Kind of like a second entry short as well. You can see new low, first entry short as soon as we triggered below this bar. pullback as soon as we triggered above this one, and then second entry short, EMA held strongly. So you can consider something like that. I skipped it personally. I just didn't, because we didn't have this wider downtrend, and we saw this strong spike. So other than that, pretty slow day, not a lot of volume. Definitely some good price action. You can see every time we broke out of one of these channels, we created new low just as we expected it to. There's just no setups to enter on the pullback to new low. So it is what it is. Tomorrow's another day. The market's not going anywhere, so you got to just be patient. Even if you take one trade a week, you got to wait for those high probability setups. And if you can take one trade a week with like a 90% win rate, I mean, you're doing well for yourself, especially once you get more confident with size and you can start to size up, make more, risk more. All it really takes is one setup. But thank you guys for watching. If you have any questions, go ahead and leave them in the comments. I'm thinking about making some videos explaining kind of the terminology that I use in these videos. I know it's not common. It's not a very I don't even know what the word would be, but it's not a very common strategy, right? So a lot of the terminology I use, it's pretty self-explanatory in a way, new high. I kind of explain it every time, at least once a day, like what a new high means. But the key entry points, the trend lines, the exponential moving average, the support and resistance. Trend lines are really just tilted up or down support and resistance lines. So if you find confluence off of those lines, then you should be good. But thank you guys for watching. Feel free to subscribe. I'm going to be uploading every weekday my live charting session and kind of teaching you guys what I do. And like I said, if you have any questions, leave them in the comments. And thanks for watching. Good luck with your trading.